Is it true that mice are the healthiest food for cats? An in-depth look at feline nutrition, evolution, and modern reality. The eternal hunter and his prey. There is a scene almost as old as civilization itself. A cat, crouched low, whiskers forward, tail twitching in silent, rhythmic anticipation. In a sudden, fluid burst of motion, the game is over. A small rodent, most often a mouse, is caught. For thousands of years, this cycle defined the relationship between the domesticated cat and its environment. Unlike dogs, who evolved alongside humans as scavengers of our grain and leftovers, cats, Felis catus, followed a different path. They domesticated themselves, drawn not by our cooking fires, but by the granaries overflowing with the very prey they evolved to hunt, mice and rats. This deep biological history leads many owners and experts to a seemingly logical conclusion. If cats evolved eating mice, then mice must be the perfect food. On the surface, this is a compelling argument. However, the question, is it true that mice are the healthiest food for cats, is far more complex than a simple yes or no. While the mouse serves as the ultimate biological blueprint, a superfood designed by nature itself, the translation of this blueprint into the life of a modern, pampered house cat is fraught with complications. To answer this question fully, we must journey through evolutionary biology, examine the chemical composition of a mouse, weigh the catastrophic risks of urban wildlife, and finally analyze how modern veterinary science has successfully deconstructed a mouse to rebuild it as a safe, convenient meal in a can or pouch. Part 1. The Blueprint. Why the mouse is a nutritional masterpiece. To understand why mice are considered the gold standard of feline diets, we must view the cat not as a pet, but as an obligate carnivore. This biological classification means that cats are chemically compelled to eat meat. Their bodies have lost the metabolic pathways necessary to derive certain nutrients from plants. A tiger eating a zebra and a house cat eating a mouse are, physiologically, performing the same act. The mouse is not just a snack, it is a perfectly balanced, self-contained ecosystem of nutrients. 1. The moisture factor. One of the most overlooked aspects of feline health is hydration. Cats evolved in arid environments and possess a low thirst drive. In the wild, they obtain the majority of their required water through their prey. A mouse is composed of approximately 70 to 75% water. When a cat consumes a mouse, it is simultaneously eating a meal and drinking a bowl of water. This high moisture content supports kidney function, prevents urinary tract diseases, and maintains overall systemic health. 2. Protein to fat ratio. A whole mouse typically contains a high percentage of animal protein and a moderate amount of fat. This mirrors the macronutrient profile that maintains lean muscle mass in active felines. Unlike rendered meat meals, the protein in a mouse is fresh, raw, and biologically available. 3. Whole prey nutrition, the prey model. Perhaps the most genius aspect of the mouse is that it is a complete package. It is not a chicken breast or a fillet of fish. It is an entire organism. Muscle meat provides taurine, an essential amino acid that cats cannot synthesize themselves. A deficiency in taurine leads to blindness and heart failure. Organs, liver, kidneys, spleen, these are nutrient-dense powerhouses. The liver is packed with vitamin A, another nutrient cats cannot convert from beta-carotene, iron, and B vitamins. Bones. The small, hollow bones of a mouse are soft and brittle. When chewed, they provide a perfect ratio of calcium to phosphorus. This ratio is critical for bone health and nerve function, something that is difficult to replicate in a home-cooked meal without precise supplementation. Skin and fur. This acts as insoluble fiber. It helps regulate the digestive tract, scraping the intestines clean and aiding in the passage of hair and other indigestible materials through the feces. Stomach contents. While it sounds unappealing to humans, the partially digested grains and vegetation inside a mouse's stomach provide prebiotics and micronutrients. This is nature's original probiotic supplement. From a purely evolutionary standpoint, the mouse is the measuring stick by which all cat food should be judged. It is the original formula. Part 2. The Great Divergence. The domestic cat versus the wild hunter. If the mouse is so perfect, why do veterinarians universally advise against allowing our cats to eat them? The answer lies in the radical shift in the cat's environment and lifespan. The domestic cat no longer lives in the barn, it lives in the living room. It no longer dies of predation or starvation at 3 years old. It often lives to be 18 or 20. This longevity changes the dietary equation entirely. The risk of parasites and pathogens. The wild mouse is a vector. It lives in sewers, fields, basements, and garbage dumps. It carries a biological arsenal that the indoor cat's immune system is no longer prepared to fight. Toxoplasmosis gondii. Mice are intermediate hosts for this protozoan parasite. Cats are the definitive host, meaning the parasite reproduces inside the cat. While a healthy adult cat may show mild symptoms, it can be devastating to pregnant women and immunocompromised individuals. Roundworms and tapeworms. A single mouse can harbor dozens of microscopic larvae. By ingesting the mouse, the cat bypasses the skin penetration phase and receives a direct, heavy load of parasites into the digestive tract. Bacterial infections. Mice can carry Salmonella and Leptospira, bacteria that cause severe gastrointestinal distress and systemic illness in cats and humans alike. The silent killer, rodenticides. This is perhaps the most terrifying and common danger. When humans attempt to control rodent populations with poison, anticoagulants like bromadiolone or brodifacoum, the mouse does not die instantly. It becomes weak, slow, and easy to catch. To a cat, this is an easy meal. However, the cat is ingesting the concentrated poison stored in the mouse's tissues. The cat may then suffer from internal hemorrhaging days or weeks later, a condition that is often fatal and always expensive to treat. The nutritional gap for longevity. A wild cat's life is often short and brutal. A domestic cat's life is long and sedentary. The high phosphorus content of a whole prey diet, perfectly balanced for a growing kitten or a breeding queen, can be too harsh for an aging cat with declining kidney function. Furthermore, while a mouse contains taurine, the exact amount varies depending on the mouse's own health and age. Modern pet food manufacturing allows for precise, guaranteed levels of taurine to prevent deficiencies. Relying on random hunting provides random nutrition. Part 3. Deconstructing the mouse. How modern science rebuilt the perfect meal. If we accept that the mouse is the ideal nutritional profile, but the wild mouse itself is too dangerous, the logical solution is clear. We must build a safe mouse. This is the multi-billion-dollar project of the pet food industry. The goal of high-quality cat food manufacturers is not to abandon the mouse model, but to perfect it. Wet food, the closest relative. Canned food, pâtés and chunks and gravy, is the direct descendant of the mouse. Its primary advantage is water content. A high-quality wet food typically contains 78% moisture, nearly identical to a mouse. This helps dilute the urine, preventing the formation of struvite crystals and bladder stones, a leading cause of death and surgery in domestic cats. When a veterinarian recommends switching a cat to wet food, they are effectively saying, "I want your cat to have the hydration levels of a mouse eater." The BARF movement, biologically appropriate raw food. For owners seeking the absolute closest replication of the mouse, the BARF diet is the answer. These diets are meticulously formulated to mimic the proportions of a whole carcass. They contain raw meaty bones, usually chicken necks or wings, for calcium, muscle meat for protein and taurine, secretory organs, liver, kidney, for vitamins. The goal is to provide the same textural and nutritional experience of tearing flesh and crushing bone, which also contributes to excellent dental health. However, even these diets require careful handling to prevent bacterial contamination and must be supplemented to ensure perfect balance. Super premium dry food, the compromise. Dry food, kibble, is the furthest departure from the mouse model. It is dry, it is carbohydrate heavy, and it requires extensive processing. However, high-quality, high-protein kibble has its place. It is calorie-dense and convenient. The best dry foods attempt to reverse engineer the mouse, using high concentrations of chicken meal or fish meal to spike the protein levels to near 50%, while minimizing starchy carbohydrates that cats do not require. The caveat remains water. A cat on dry food must drink from a bowl, something many cats are reluctant to do. Part 4. Beyond nutrition, the psychological and ethical dimensions. When we ask if mice are the healthiest food, we must also consider health as a holistic state of being, not just a chemical equation. Psychological health, enrichment. There is a valid argument that the process of hunting is healthy for a cat. Indoor cats often suffer from boredom, leading to obesity, depression, and behavioral issues. The act of stalking, chasing, and catching is deeply ingrained. However, we can satisfy this drive without the consumption of wild rodents. Puzzle feeders, laser chases, and toy mice allow the cat to simulate the hunt, receiving the mental workout without the biological risk. In this sense, the idea of the mouse is healthy, even if the mouse itself is not. The ethical question. For the owner, the question is often one of responsibility. Is it ethical to allow a beloved pet to consume a sentient creature? Furthermore, domestic cats are responsible for the extinction of numerous bird and small mammal species globally. By encouraging or even allowing our cats to hunt, we participate in a significant ecological disruption. The healthiest food for an individual cat may come at the cost of the health of the local ecosystem. Part 5. A detailed examination of the argument. Let us revisit the core thesis. Is it true that mice are the healthiest food for cats? The yes argument. If we freeze time and view the cat as a wild animal living in a pristine environment, free of pollution and poison, the mouse is unequivocally the healthiest food. It is the product of millions of years of coevolution. Every enzyme, every bacterium in the cat's gut, every tooth in its mouth is designed to process the mouse. No factory can replicate the exact living matrix of enzymes and cofactors present in fresh, raw prey. The bioavailability of nutrients in a living creature is arguably superior to any processed alternative. The no argument. However, we do not live in a pristine environment. The healthiest food cannot be defined solely by its nutritional label. It must be defined by its net outcome on the lifespan of the animal. If a food provides perfect nutrition but has a 10% chance of introducing a fatal pathogen, it is, by definition, not healthy. It is a gamble. The modern domestic cat is a member of the family, not a member of the food chain. It requires the predictability of modern food safety standards. Conclusion. The imitation of perfection. So where does this leave the cat owner staring at the rows of cans and bags in the pet store, or watching their cat stare intently at a hole in the skirting board? The truth is this: the mouse is the holy grail of feline nutrition, but it is a grail we can no longer safely drink from. The healthiest food for a cat is not the mouse itself, but the idea of the mouse. It is a food that is high in moisture, high in animal protein, moderate in fat, low in carbohydrates, and includes animal derivatives like organs and bone. Thus, the answer to the question is a paradoxical one. Yes, mice are the most biologically appropriate food for cats, but no, they are not the healthiest choice for the modern domestic cat. The responsibility of the modern pet owner is to bridge this gap. We must honor our cat's evolutionary heritage by rejecting the dry, carbohydrate-laden filler foods of the 20th century. We must move toward diets that respect the cat as an obligate carnivore. Whether we choose high-moisture wet food, a carefully prepared raw diet, or a high-protein kibble supplemented with wet food, our goal remains the same: to build a better mouse. We cannot bring the barn into our apartments. We cannot ensure the wild mouse is free of disease. But we can deconstruct the mouse, analyze its components, and reassemble them in a stainless steel bowl. We can give our cats the nutrition of the hunter without the dangers of the hunt. In doing so, we answer the question with action. We know the mouse was the perfect food, but we have perfected it further by making it safe.